Good morning and welcome to the Megacast. This is not a radio broadcast, not just a television show, not a cable show, not a podcast. It is all of that and more. It's the Megacast. I almost can call it the Oakland County Megacast now as it gets bigger and bigger each and every day. Good to have you on board. My name is Dave Scott. I am sitting in our Lakes FM radio studio in West Bloomfield on Walnut Lake Road, and we are all over the place today, all across Oakland County, thanks to a lot of tremendous partners that are making this happen more and more every day. I want to start by thanking the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission, whose building I am in right now, and the operators of Civic Center TV. You can find that on Channel 15 and Comcast in the West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake Lakes area. If you have AT&T cable, you can tune in from almost anywhere in Metro Detroit and certainly across Oakland County by going to Channel 99 and look up West Bloomfield in there, and then you will find our link to Civic Center TV. Online, go to civiccentertv.com, and there you will see our video player. Hit the Watch Live button. Getting all choked up. Hit the Watch Live button, and you will find our broadcast in full high definition. And then let's talk about our great radio stations today. 89.3 Lakes FM, West Bloomfield, Orchard Lake, Commerce Township, Walled Lake. 88.1 WBFH, The Biff in Bloomfield Hills and Birmingham, and then our Powerhouse FM radio station at Avondale High School, Avondale Community Radio, 89.5 WAHS, covering a whole lot of territory. So we're getting out to a lot of Macomb County, but very importantly, a lot of Oakland County as well. And we thank our tremendous radio stations for picking up our broadcast each and every day. And finally, a huge thanks. And I didn't know that we were actually all hooked up, but we are hooked up with BAMA, or is it just BAMA? BAMA? Birmingham Area Municipal Access. That is the Birmingham Community Television, and that covers Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and Franklin. And you can find us here on Channel 15 and also on their incredible website. So there you go. So that's who we are. That's what we are. In just a minute, we're going to say hello to Dr. James Schwarz, Superintendent of Schools in Avondale, and check in with him and get some update from him. Shortly thereafter, my friend John Johnson checks in. John is the Director of Broadcast Properties at the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Where are we with high school athletics? I was thinking about that after last night. What a nice break it was last night to actually be able to watch a sporting event, sort of, that wasn't, 10 years ago. The NFL draft last night, watching that on TV, and nothing surprising there, but it was really nice to see that and remember what sports was like for just a moment. So we're going to find out what's happening, what the future of high school sports looks like here in Michigan when we talk to JJ in a couple of minutes. And we're also going to talk to Sanford Vieder, Chairman and Medical Director at the Emergency Room and Trauma Center at Beaumont Hospital, and he also operates, and is the Medical Director, I should say, the Lakes Urgent Care Center. So we'll check in with a fine doctor this morning, and then it all leads up to what is going to be a fascinating media conference. We'll take the whole thing live. Governor Whitmer talks to the state of Michigan this morning at 11 o'clock. We'll have it all live for you. And we've seen a lot of media reports. The one I just read from Cranes says pressure mounting on Whitmer. And we've seen our neighboring states now start to loosen things up as they head toward May 1st. What's going to happen here in Michigan, we don't really know. She's doing her thing today, and the legislature's back in session. They all went, Republican, Democrats, senators, representatives are all up in Lansing today voting. And one of the things they're going to vote today to take away the governor's authority to put these executive orders in place. But it isn't really going to matter, because she is going to veto that. So she'll continue to have the authority that she has. But that's all going on. And, I'm just sitting here scratching my head. This is going to get a little complicated now as we try to untangle this mess and then, most importantly, do the right thing. So, with all that being said, let's shift over to what's going on in education. And we say good morning to Dr. James Schwarz, Superintendent of Avondale Schools, who we see via Zoom. Dr. Schwarz, good morning. Welcome back to the Megacast.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you very much, and a huge thank you again to you and your school district for including us on your radio station, WAHS 89.5. Without question, the most powerful community high school radio station in Oakland County. Covers a ton of territory, and we've really enjoyed being on there every day. And a huge thanks to you and your broadcasters, and that junior at Avondale High School, Logan, who gets us on the air every day. So thank you, thank you to him and to you, Dr. Schwarz.
Yeah, thank you.
So, all right, so we're a couple of weeks into it. I got a ton of questions for you, but before I go, let's hear from you. What's going on at the Avondale School District, and any updates since we last talked?
Well, we now are full-fledged into our remote learning plan that we began on Monday officially. After last week, we went through about 5 days of professional development in which we brought teachers together remotely to engage in getting training on a consistent platform that we're using throughout the district. And for most folks, that's Google Classroom. Lower elementary grades are using a different platform called Seesaw. It's more developmentally appropriate for that age group, but everybody's getting used to the whole paradigm of remote learning. And so moving to a more consistent framework. Teachers also have established office hours, kind of like professors in college, where you've got time set aside where you meet with individual students or small groups of students online to provide direct instruction, direct feedback, checking in on social emotional issues, concerns. They also have designated time in their schedules through the week outside of those office hours where they're providing direct feedback for students. And then, of course, there's instruction that wraps around all of that throughout the week. So things have moved, I'll say, very well this week with that. Keeping in mind that, most teachers really did not have much in the way of experience in teaching online before this. Literally overnight, they've had to shift their paradigm and deal with the very uncomfortable in terms of teaching in a mode that they rarely have taught in or have never taught in.
How's that going for them? It's a good challenge for them. We all like a good challenge, I guess, to look at it from the positive side. I assume we're hearing great reports from all of our districts that the teachers have embraced this challenge and are just doing a great job with the students and education.
They are. Yep, they are. They're really taking the bull by the horns, and they are making those connections with kids, and that's what's most important.
So yesterday we had the opportunity to talk to the admissions folks at Oakland University, and the universities around the state of Michigan all sent out a communication, both the public and the private institutions, distributing all their information, letting people know here's how they can get a hold of them if they have questions. And then I think a big help for graduating seniors, they said that they're going to waive some of the test standards that they normally have had if you can't get in your collegiate admission test. It's going to be okay. They're still going to look at you. I wonder if you saw that communication, and if you have any thoughts on how seniors are doing.
Yeah, I did see the communication, and I think, we're certainly seeing other universities and colleges follow suit with that. I think, frankly, they do have to make some adjustments on their end for how they're admitting folks in for their freshman year next year. I mean, they have to, because they have to secure some type of enrollment for their own financial perspectives. So, certainly they have to make those adjustments on their end. And, I'm seeing our seniors, doing all right with that. I mean, we've offered the opportunity for students in our district to, obviously they'll get credit as they continue through their coursework in this remote situation. And they also have the opportunity to complete a portfolio to garner a grade for their time in this period. So that will allow them to be eligible for scholarships that they are looking for that require a grade, that won't just require credit. So we're trying to make accommodations on all ends to meet students' needs so that they are well prepared for whatever their post-secondary situation may be.
Dr. James Schwarz is on the line. He's the superintendent of the Avondale Schools, joining us via Zoom today. This is the Megacast. I'm Dave Scott. Tyler Keefe in the studio. We'll get a chance to hear from him in a couple of minutes. Dr. Schwarz, we appreciate you joining us today. Certainly, one of the big issues in education right now is making sure that all the students have the tools that they need to be able to connect. And in Detroit, where that's a huge problem. I mean, we have our challenges in Oakland County, but in Detroit, it is a massive problem. A lot of big number of students don't have the connectivity, and they don't have the devices to be able to get online. And really great story. I know it doesn't affect us in Oakland County, but for our friends in Detroit, DTE and a number of other corporate interests have stepped up and came up with millions of dollars to get those students computers and connectivity. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's essential. It's essential. Biasedly, I think that should be coming from the state, and not have to rely on private donors to make essential educational equipment such as computers these days come from that venue. It really should be something that's provided by the state, but that's another story.
Dr. Schwarz, what I really like about this show is that, we could just get together, friends in our neighborhood, right at the bottom line, and just have a really honest, frank dialogue about what's really going on. I appreciate you saying that because, you're right in the front line. We don't hear this if you don't say it. And, some people are so cautious and politically correct, they don't ever want to say anything. So thank you. Thank you for saying that. How are we doing in the Avondale School District? Are students there? Do they have the tools they need, or do we need to continue to work on that to get the tools out?
But we did have to work on that because we know that there's many folks in our constituency who do not have an adequate device, that do not have adequate connectivity to make this remote learning successful for them. So thankfully, the federal government allowed flexibility in particularly the title grants that schools are availed to be able to use those monies to purchase needed equipment and connectivity for families. So we had purchased out of our monies 300 Chromebooks and created a rubric of distribution by which last week we distributed those to families that were in need of an adequate device and or connectivity, so that there were at least one adequate device per household in our community. So, and that we've had obviously many folks taking advantage of that, and it has helped a great deal.
Well, I mean, it's essential. You're right. I mean, you cannot educate students at home if they don't have the basic tools to get it done. So congratulations on your effort to make that happen.
Yeah, a computer these days is essential as a pencil. It's one and the same. And so all students from an equity perspective should be provided the basic tools of success. And a basic tool for success now is a computer.
Your friend Pat Watson down the road over at Bloomfield Hills School said something on the show. I keep repeating it like every 10 minutes. He said the other day on the program, hope is not a plan. I kind of like that. It just bottles everything right up. So we all hope, but we need plans. Are you working on plans for the fall? I mean, we really, I mean, we know school's done for the year. Students aren't going to be back in buildings, but we don't really know what's going to happen. We can't possibly know what's going to happen in the fall. How is that impacting you and your planning, if you don't mind?
So we are looking at that. First thing is we're looking at offering summer sessions in summer school for folks and doing more of a virtual format because we don't know what the social distancing protocols are going to be come summer. So we are actively planning for a virtual remote summer school throughout the K-12 environment. So we're just cementing plans on those. For the fall, again, not knowing where we're going to be with, again, protocols at that point, we do know that we are going to need increased interventions both academically and socio-emotionally. And so we're beginning to plan on those ends. There's a wrench in the mix, though, because, of course, we're hearing the state budget is obviously not doing well without having the income tax, the gas tax, and the sales tax, all which feed the state aid right now, we're looking at a $450 to a $500 per student cut to add insult to injury to this coronavirus situation come next school year. So that's going to damper added resources that we can put in place just at the time that kids most need it when they're coming back. So we're looking at how do we make the best with the resources that we currently have to remediate what we know are going to be needs in both those academic and social emotional realms.
Now, see, you're doing it. You're working on your plan. You're realizing the reality. I mean, that sounds. I haven't seen or heard the number, so I appreciate you sharing that with us today. Remind me, ballpark. Yeah. That's a big number. What ballpark? What are schools across our area generally getting per student from the state?
The average is about $8,000. Statewide average is about $8,000 a student.
Okay, so you take $500 at $8,000. That's a big hit.
That's a big hit.
That's a huge.
We haven't seen that kind of hit in 20 years.
So what are your thoughts on where do you go if you're going to see that hit? Where do you start? I almost hate to ask that question, but there it is.
Yeah, you've got to look at the whole picture of the services that you provide. You've got to look at ultimately what choices you provide students, and you may have to slim back on some of the choices that you offer. It's every district's going to be different in terms of how they deal with those cutbacks. You've got to look at your core instruction versus your added instruction or your niceties that you have. And you've got to, look at what you can pare back.
Well, I mean, clearly the biggest, in my business, the biggest cost is people, and I'm sure that's the same thing in a school district. So, we're going to be looking at some teacher layoffs in the fall. I mean, just to be direct, don't you think?
Well, potentially, if it goes this route that they keep touting, then it is likely. We don't know if the federal government will step in with some sort of stimulus package, similar to what they did back in 2011 when the market crashed and schools were suffering. They had a series of stimulus bills that helped to bail out schools at that time. Now, to my knowledge, there has not been any conversation in Washington yet about that.
Well, there's been conversation, but there has not been any action taken. We just got the PPP and that additional $500 million, and I know there was some debate from Democrats. Hey, let's get the states funded right now, and Republicans said, no, well, we're going to do it, but let's wait. I think I'm trying to summarize that as quickly as I can. I'm sure that conversation is going to go on, don't you think?
Oh, I certainly hope so. I know there's monies that are coming to deal with the immediacy of the situation and the expenses that have been occurred with what we're doing now in terms of the immediacy. But when we're looking long term, the next fiscal year and the fiscal year to follow, which they feel will continue to have this ripple effect of consequences, we don't know yet what that may or may not bring in terms of helping to offset what the state is saying our cuts look like at this point.
The new normal may be multifaceted. It may not just be cultural. It may not just be technical. It certainly is. There's going to be a financial component. I think there's no question about it. And
absolutely.
That's why I think we got a great team of superintendents in our Oakland County area. I'm getting to know all of you a lot better now, and I'm really impressed by all of the dialogue we've had, and I think we're in good hands. You guys are going to, I know you're all talking to each other, I assume. You're going to have your hands full.
Yeah, we sure do.
All right. Dr. James. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I just said they're unprecedented times. There's no script, there's no recipe card to follow, and this is all, it's challenging, but we'll make it. We'll make it through.
So much for spending the summer on the beach, huh, Dr. Schwarz?
Yeah, that typically doesn't happen anyway, but yeah, for sure this year. No.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Anything else you want to add before we say so long?
No, quite all right. I appreciate you having me on the show, and look forward to another invitation at another point in time.
We'll do it soon, and I do want to set up a day, maybe it's even outside of the show, where we get you and some of the other superintendents in our area all together. Maybe we can have a Zoom panel conversation someday soon, all right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again for everything you're doing, and thanks again for including our broadcast on WAHS. It really helps so much, helps us reach so many people. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
He is Dr. James Schwarz, Superintendent of Schools at the Avondale School District, and we really appreciate having him on the show, and we'll continue to talk to him. We are going to talk about high school sports here in just a couple of minutes. Looking forward to touching base with my friend John Johnson, the Director of Broadcast Properties of the Michigan High School Athletic Association. He'll be checking in a couple of minutes, and then we'll shift over to the medical side and talk to the medical director at the Lakes Urgent Care Center via Zoom and find out from right here at a grassroots level, right here in West Bloomfield and in Oakland County, what's going on with one of our major medical centers. He also, by the way, is the chairman and medical director at the Emergency Room Trauma Center at Beaumont Hospital. So great to talk to him. And then, of course, at 11 o'clock today, we're going to learn so much. This is a huge day. Governor's going to be talking to the state of Michigan. She's got a press conference at 11 o'clock. We'll have it for you in its entirety, and we expect to hear more about what things are going to look like after May 1st. We've heard from the legislature. They are voting today to take away her ability to put more rules in, but she's going to veto that. She's going to be able to continue to implement a plan. What that plan will look like, we'll find out more. It'll be really interesting to see if she follows the lead of other states in our area that have got rid of some of the peripheral limitations. And Tyler, I'm talking about things like, some of the boating restrictions, some of the landscaping restrictions, those kind of things. Are we going to see that loosen up in Michigan? Or is Governor Whitmer, listen, the problem is more acute here in Michigan, too. So who knows where she's going to go?
From the sources that I've read reports from, it does appear that there are going to be some loosened restrictions on those pervasive services like lawn care and boating and things like that in this extended stay-at-home order, the second extension, which is expected to be through May 15th. Of course, nothing's official just yet. We haven't heard the word from the governor, but it does look like it's leaning that way.
All right, well, we will find out more in about a half an hour. It was so much fun last night. I mentioned it briefly earlier, but it was really good to turn on ABC and ESPN and watch something related to sports that wasn't recorded from 10 years ago. And I can see my friend John Johnson smiling on Zoom right now. Hey, JJ, how you doing today?
We're doing fine, Dave.
Did you watch the draft last night? And, wasn't it nice to see something new and fresh and live?
Something new, fresh, live was great. Probably about the only numbers that ESPN has had in weeks, for something like that. But, it shows, how much people, just would really love to get engaged at a time that they know they can't be as engaged as they'd like.
Well, no, and that is pervasive, and that's exactly why we wanted to have you on the air. Thank you very much. Good to see you. How are you doing? Everything is well with you?
We're fine. We're fine here in our house. The office is closed, but we're open for business remotely in all of our homes around the Lansing area. There's a lot of work to be done to deal with the questions that we're getting asked about things like out-of-season regulations. Of course, a lot of people are trying to play all the what-if games. We can't play those yet. Our board is going to be taking up a lot of this stuff a week from Monday and try to do the best they can so that the staff can be ready, that, should we get the green light someplace down the line, we can give schools guidance as to here's what you can do and here's what you can't do.
So we're beginning to see discussion about sports coming back in general. That's really great. I'm glad to hear it. Hopefully it happens. But you're right. We have no idea where this is going to go, and no one can entirely have an idea. The coronavirus, COVID-19, is going to go where it goes, and we're all going to have to respond. But on the table, the table, and on your options, some of your options, would one of your options be holding high school athletic events without without spectators?
It depends on what we're allowed to do. Everybody's asking the question. Of course, colleges are saying, hey, no students, no games. Obviously, that would be the same if kids weren't let back into the classroom. It looks like something is going to happen, though, that I hope we can get kids back into the classrooms this fall. Then you start asking about, okay, we can do all kinds of things to plan for appropriate spacing and such in the classroom with the kids during the day. How does that translate to the athletic field? Do you keep fans away? And here's the other thing, Dave. You take a look at some of the stuff that was out there in print yesterday, and you've got 3 different universities, Wayne State, Michigan State, and University of Michigan, saying 3 different things about what they're going to do with their student bodies. And that's reflective of what is going to be the situation across the state. You might get green lights from county health departments. We don't know if that's where it's going to go eventually, but what may be good in Calhoun County may not be good in Washtenaw County, may not be good in Wayne County. And so you might have sports in Battle Creek, but not in Detroit. It's just too wild a scenario to figure out yet. But we were ready to finish our tournaments in the winter without fans, had not things developed so rapidly to cause the shutdown. And again, it's hard to play the cards when they haven't been dealt to you.
Well, no question about it. He is John Johnson, the Director of Broadcast Properties of the Michigan High School Athletic Association, joining us via Zoom from his home in the Lansing area. And I just want to let folks know, JJ, that I'm telling you, no one has worked harder for high school athletics than you and your colleagues at the MHSAA. And I've known you for a long time, and you work through issues, and I'm glad that we have the MHSAA here in Michigan to help us sort this thing out, because it isn't going to be easy. And the reality is we don't know. We don't know. All you can do, I guess, is build contingencies and see where it goes, right?
Well, you build your contingencies and you do things to support schools as they try to sort this out at the local level. I mean, that's our real role, is to help schools administer the day-to-day conduct of their interscholastic athletic programs. And one of the things now, Dave, that we're starting to get involved with is mental health. And we're working with a group out of Grand Rapids that goes by the name of Be Nice. Sounds good. But we actually had some stuff from them in our rules meetings this year, talking about what are some of the telltale signs of somebody's attitude or actions that may be troublesome. We had Mark D'Antonio, Tom Izzo, Jim Harbaugh, Carol Hutchins. Give me the quarterback from the Lions, who
Matthew Stafford.
Not Stafford. No, who's dealt with this?
Tyler. Can you help us out?
Eric.
Hipple. Hipple. Yeah, Eric Hipple. All right. See, Tyler's Hipple. Not old enough. He's not. You can see he's not old enough to know who Eric Hipple is. I know Eric Hipple. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. But I mean, these are the people who have stepped up, and they need to be engaged, and they know that that's a big part anymore of their role. Coaching isn't like what it was 30 and 40 years ago. But right now we're working with the Be Nice people to develop a series of podcasts that can have coaches talking to coaches and talking to parents, kids talking to kids, trying to, help them shape their thoughts and hear what's going on, right now in their minds, because, this hasn't been like throwing a switch in any direction, except for the fact that it's a total shock.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah, we had a situation shortly after this happened where the police got called in Brighton, of all places, because so many athletes just wanted to be with each other. It was a beautiful day, and they were just there at the track, at the football field, commiserating, hanging out with each other because they didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to go. That's how big of a role this plays in our kids' lives. It is one of the things that shapes them, and those relationships that shape these kids through sports. And so they had to get them, hey, you got to go, we know you're having a tough time. And so we're trying to respond in a variety of different ways, not just with rules and regulations, but what kind of services can we do to help kids and schools and communities get through this?
Well, I'm confident, John Johnson, you and the MHSAA and your colleagues there will figure it out. There's a bunch of different ways you can go. School has gone virtual. Maybe there is some correlation between the education that happens in the classrooms and what happens with interscholastic sports, that there is some virtual component to it. Maybe there is some training that can go on if we can't play football because we can't do spacing. Maybe there's some kind of other training or other activities, because this is going to end. I mean, this is at some point we're going to get back to some kind of normal. We don't know when, but it is going to end. And maybe there's some interim things. Are you guys talking about, is there any virtual scenario for interscholastic high school sports?
Well, that's one of the things that we have talked about a lot. We have at this time, if things were normal at this time of year, we'd have a 4-player rule in place for winter sports and fall sports, where a coach can only have contact with no more than 4 kids at a time. Big question, hey, can we do that virtually? Can we have a Zoom meeting with the offensive line, for example? So those are the kinds of things that are being thrown at us. Some people are coaches are really trying to find ways to stay engaged, and it doesn't have to be necessarily about tactics, but it can be about encouragement and engagement and relationships. Again, all the other things that are so important that school sports bring to the table, coaches are looking to a way to stay connected to their kids and keep thetheir kids connected through this time.
All right, Tyler, could you do like a competitive D&D or something like that? I mean,
yeah, esports are becoming a lot bigger.
What are esports?
It's basically video games, competitive video games.
Yeah, can we come up with a whole new category at the MHSAA for competitive video games? I mean, I'm just throwing. I don't know. We haven't talked before this call. Is that even a possibility?
Oh, that one's been on the table now for a couple of years.
Really?
It has been, and right now we've just stated our.
Looks like we lost our connection with John. Hopefully, we'll get him back in a minute. But Tyler, that is, I had no idea that they were talking about those kind of things and looking at those kind of deals.
Yeah, it's something.
Whoops, let me get your mic on. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's been growing over time, and it's becoming big. I mean, I know ESPN for a while, when this initially started, before they were playing some of the more classic sports, they've been airing esports competitions as well.
All right, JJ, we got your connection back. Sorry about that. The internet is what the internet is. Yeah. So you were talking about, before we lost you, you were talking about looking at some virtual activity. Can you continue on with that?
We got the conversation going within the membership about virtual sports. And by the way, Oakland U just made esports a quote-unquote varsity sport. They're going to treat it just like everything else. They've hired a coach at a full-time, he's full-time. I don't think it's a full-time salary, but he's hired full-time. But esports are wildly popular. And it doesn't necessarily involve a whole new breed of kid like we found with bowling, when we added bowling back about 15 years ago. But it has some new kids in it. And I think we found that you've got a whole nother raft of kids out there. Take a look at NBA players and how much they talk about playing their esports, who might enjoy being on an esports team as well. And think about how that combines some groups that would never even talk to each other in the hallway, between the jocks and the guys and girls who like to play esports. It'd be a whole new dynamic. You'd be further mixing the pot, and that's to the good. But the discussions that we've had so far, really haven't found traction. There is still some division within the National Federation, which is our umbrella organization for high school sports. Imagine the NCAA without tournaments.
Sure.
They write the rules, they help with the programming. There's several different brands, for lack of a better term, that are out there for high school kids to play. And then you've got a lot of division between administrators and even kids as to if it should be and whether it is a sport. Some people take offense to having kids play for the school for something that some administrators say, hey, we got to get you off the couch. But hey, schools that have teams, Western Michigan, for example, at least the first hour of their practice day is developed to physical training. And so, you got to have your mind sharp. Yes, you got to have your body sharp.
JJ, I appreciate so much. I appreciate so much you coming on the show today. I knew I would learn something. I didn't know what I was going to learn. But, right here in my own backyard, we got to get a hold of the new coach of the esports program over at Oakland University. I didn't even know that was going on. So thank you for enlightening us, John Johnson. Our best wishes to you and everybody at the MHSAA. I call Tyler and I call the football games in West Bloomfield. We love doing it. We miss going out to games. We'll really miss it if we can't have a football season this year, but who knows?
It'll be very interesting.
It will be. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Can we keep in touch?
We can.
All right. He is John Johnson. He is the Director of Broadcast Properties of the Michigan High School Athletic Association, joining us here on the program today. Fascinating. I had no idea there was a thing called esports, Tyler.
Yeah, it's relatively new, but it's growing really quickly, and it involves sports games, it involves strategic games, and even some classical games as well.
All right, get a hold of Captain Jeff, our producer, and let's see if we can get somebody on Monday and find out about esports at Oakland University. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a minute. We're going to check in with Sanford Vieder, Chairman and Medical Director at Emergency Room Trauma Center, Beaumont, and the Director of the Lakes Urgent Care right here in our area. And then we'll get ready for the governor, who we will be hearing from at 11 o'clock today. Thank you for joining us on the Megacast on all of our great radio stations and TV outlets. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1. Turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
And hello, welcome back. This is the Megacast. My name is Dave Scott. Tyler Keefe over there. We appreciate you. 6 feet away. Are you 6 feet away over there? All right, very good.
Sure.
But thank you for joining us on our great radio stations all across our listening area. That includes 89.3 Lakes FM in the West Bloomfield, Commerce Township, Orchard Lake, Kegel Harbor area. 88.1 WBFH, the Biff in Bloomfield Hills and points beyond. And WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, covering much of Oakland County and Pontiac and a lot of Macomb County. We appreciate all of you listening on those radio stations. Thanks for tuning in on Civic Center TV, Channel 15 in West Bloomfield, Kegel Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake. And we now know that we are on Birmingham area municipal access television in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and Franklin. Tyler, also on Channel 15, so that makes it easy. All we got to do is say Channel 15, and we got it all covered.
Go to Channel 15, AT&T 99.
Oh, that's right, 99. Okay, if you are on AT&T, go to Channel 99, and you can watch us there. And, of course, CivicCenterTV.com. We are there. And a huge thanks to to the Kego Harbor Police Department today. We've not said thank you to them. Shame on us. They have us on their Facebook page, and we appreciate it. So, all right, let's move along. Fascinating to hear from John Johnson of the MHSAA. I had no idea there's a thing called esports. There's an e-everything, Tyler.
Oh, yes.
There's an e-everything now. It's amazing.
There is.
So we really appreciate everything that's going on, all of the medical professionals that are keeping us healthy now and are coming on the show, and certainly no exception here. Joining us now is Dr. Sanford Vieder. He is the medical director at the Lakes Urgent Care right in our backyard, and also the chairman and medical director at Emergency Room Trauma Center at Beaumont Hospital. Dr. Vieder, good morning, and welcome to the Megacast.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning. Appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have you on. So many things to talk about. We have limited time. We got the governor coming up here
Right.
in a little bit. But to start with, how are we doing? How is the public doing right now through this entire crisis from a physician's view?
Well, there's a couple of interesting ways of looking at that question. It's an interesting question. So first of all, I do think that the governor's stay at home, stay safe, mandate has been effective. We're certainly seeing a decline in the number of active COVID cases. We're not out of the woods yet, but it certainly has been effective, and we knew that it would be. On the other hand, one of the things that we're very concerned about is that, number one, a lot of people are putting off care that they would normally seek help for. And that's really kind of, in my opinion, and sort of the newest public health crisis that's going on within the pandemic. And that is, a lot of people are staying home and not getting things addressed, and those conditions may be getting worse. And people are afraid to seek care because they don't want to be exposed. And of course, the messaging over the last 5 or 6 weeks has been, don't go to the ER, don't go to urgent cares, stay away, put off things that you can, don't do anything elective. And I'm certainly not talking about elective things, but by way of example, I've seen a number of patients in the last couple of weeks who had ongoing abdominal pain and didn't want to come in for fear of being exposed to COVID, and then ultimately ended up with a much worse situation, requiring surgery, getting really sick. So, at Lakes Urgent Care, we're really trying to get the message out that we're available. It's a safe place to come to. And if you have healthcare needs, you need to know where you can go so that you can get those needs addressed and not feel like I'm taking a major risk of getting exposure to COVID because my ankle hurts, or I cut my finger, or I've got, I think I may have a bladder infection, or my back hurts. There's a lot of things that none of the healthcare providers are seeing, and it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. Where have all the heart attacks gone? Where have all the strokes gone? Because we're seeing a significant reduction in those numbers, and one of the concerns is that people are waiting too long and then unfortunately are having a bad outcome at home.
So you're concerned that somebody may be having symptoms of a heart attack, for example, and they may not seek treatment where they normally would. You said the numbers are down. I mean, that's a scary proposition, doctor.
It is. It's very frightening, and it's definitely a concern. So I guess if there was one message I could get out to folks in public, is that if you think you've got, some health issue going on, again, shy of completely elective sorts of things, you really should either reach out to your primary care physician at a minimum, or, know where you can go so that you can get care safely and not, necessarily increase your risk of exposure from contracting COVID-19.
Well, Doctor,
You know,
I'm glad you said that. I thought you said, well, if there's one thing I could tell people, I was going to tell them to wash their hands. We already know that. So,
right.
so thanks for
I
the
think
new.
we're beyond that.
Thanks for the new and fresh information. He is Dr. Sanford Vieder. He is the chairman and medical director at Emergency Room Trauma Center, Beaumont Hospital, and the medical director at Lakes Urgent Care. Kind of a multidiscipline facility. I've been in there several times. Great facility on Haggerty Road in West Bloomfield Commerce Township. So, I guess we should just take another moment and go back and tell people how to do it, because people have been told, call your doctor, and I think people, I understand. I don't want to walk into Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital right now if I don't have to. We know what's going on over there. We know what's going on at St. Joe. But what is the procedure? So let's say I've got my knee is bothering me today. Right. From sitting in this cramped studio the way I sit every day. What do I do? What's the procedure? What would you recommend?
So there's a number of options. Number one, you can certainly always call any of our Lakes Urgent Care sites. We have a location in West Bloomfield, as you've mentioned, also in Livonia. And we have a couple of options. Number one, we are offering telemedicine consultations or visits, if you will. That's certainly an option. But I always think that the best thing to do is to have, a physician, a provider, lay hands on, see you in person. That's going to be your best bet for the most accurate diagnosis. I can't do an x-ray by telemedicine visit. I can't check your vital signs by telemedicine visit unless you happen to have, a finger pulse ox at home, which is not a bad investment.
I got one. I've got one.
Good,
That's one of my favorite tools.
Yeah,
I'm a pilot, so I have one that I use when I fly, but I have that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great little device, something like this.
Yeah.
You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at CVS. There's so many places you can get them. They're simple to use. They're inexpensive, and it's certainly a great option. But kind of getting back to what we're really trying to do is, number one, how do you know that your visit is safe to Lakes Urgent Care? Well, we go through an extensive screening process so that if you've got a lot of risk factors associated with COVID or COVID-like symptoms, then we are screening those people out, and we're typically offering them an alternative to be cared for either via telemedicine or, if they are unfortunately sick enough that need to be in a higher level of care, recommending that they go to the emergency department. But if you are not having COVID symptoms, we're still going to screen you at the door, but we're going to let you in, and we're going to take good care of you.
And there's more. From what we see, there is more testing, and I assume it's easier for the physicians and the medical assistants and the other people working in your buildings and other urgent care facilities around Oakland County to get testing themselves, too, so you know that there's a safe environment. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And all of our staff, we're treating as if everybody is potentially positive, right? So what does that mean? That means all of our staff is going to be wearing PPE. And if you come into the urgent care, even if you're there because your knee hurts and you don't have a cough, you don't have a fever, we're still going to offer you a surgical mask like this so that we keep you safe, we keep our staff safe, and we mitigate the risk of cross-contamination in that environment while we can still address whatever that issue is, whether you think it's a sinus problem, you've got a skin rash, you've got a cut that needs stitches, you need something that needs to be x-rayed. I was out exercising and I tripped and fell on the uneven concrete. We got lots of that around. I hurt my wrist, or I hurt a finger, or I hurt my knee or ankle. That allows us to take x-rays, get you stabilized, and then we also collaborate with a lot of great orthopedic surgeons, Letterman Kortowitz in our Haggerty building, the Mendelson Orthopedic Group over near our Livonia office, or of course any orthopedic surgeon that you have a previous association with that you need to follow up with. But we are able to provide those x-rays, we're able to provide the splinting or casting as necessary, and then get you hooked up with the right care moving forward. and doing that in a really safe way.
Great message, Dr. Vieder. I appreciate you coming on and saying that today, because that's not what I anticipated talking to you about. I'm really glad we did talk about it. I didn't think about it. So it's just another additional heightened risk we have in this environment right now, because we're not seeking out the medical care that we normally would because we're scared. So call your doctor, and if your doctor says come on into the office or the urgent care, don't be terribly fearful of that, because you folks know what you're doing. You got that right? Okay.
Yeah, and we're all staying safe. We're not getting ill, knock on wood, and that's because we're taking all the correct precautions. So that extends to the people that we end up seeing in that environment.
Couple other really quick questions, if you don't mind, sure. And then we're going to get to the governor here. And I'm learning this every day. So I was reading the orders, and first of all, let me just tell you and our audience, totally nonpartisan show. I don't lean left or right. We're not picking on anyone. I've said over and over again, I wouldn't want the governor's job right now. It's just got to be very, very difficult. But I understand other people that are critical of some of the decisions she's made. So we get all that. One of the things that I read today in one of the online papers said that the outstate hospitals are really having a hard time, because if I'm correct, all elective surgery in the state of Michigan is shut down under the governor's order. And they did that to make sure that we have coronavirus capability. But a lot of these outstate hospitals, and it may be true in some other surgical centers here, even in Metro Detroit, they're just like the folks up north. I was reading a story about a hospital in the Sioux. They don't have any COVID-19 up there, and they've had to shut down all of their surgical operations, all their elective, and it's the same kind of thing you're talking about here. Some people could be getting care that they're not. Do you have any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely problematic, and I do think we're at that point in the state where obviously regionally and with the leadership of various hospital systems, that it's going to be safe to continue or to begin taking care of those people in particular. Like, one of the things that we worry about is, how about the individual who's waiting for potential cancer diagnosis, hasn't been diagnosed but needs a biopsy, needs a colonoscopy, needs some sort of other procedure in order to get the diagnosis. Those are not being done right now, and that effectively is delaying potential early treatment of cancer. And that's just one small example that I think a lot of us physicians are very worried about. So we're hopeful that we're going to start moving forward with some good decision making and allowing especially those kinds of things to start getting done quickly.
One final question, and I can only ask your opinion. I'm sure you don't have any more information than anybody else, but you do see a lot of people, and you are a respected physician. Do you think there are a lot of asymptomatic people walking around right now here that they don't even know that they're sick? I mean, we're seeing numbers out of California that there may be an awful lot more people that have COVID-19 we don't even know about.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus, is that there's a lot of us who've probably even been exposed and either got a mild illness or didn't get ill at all. And that's not uncommon, because we know by a numbers game, right? The vast majority of patients either have mild illness or moderate illness and completely recover. We're very focused on the things that are really bad that are going on in the world. And that's one of the things that I find unfortunate with, like, the, national news and even some of the local news that's been on, is that continual focus on the deaths that are happening every day. I don't hear enough about all of the success stories. And there are a lot of people recovering each and every day who have COVID, and they do just fine. So I don't want to minimize the tragedy that we're seeing, because of course the deaths are tragic. And we're seeing an awful lot of that. But when we really look at the numbers as a whole, you understand that there are so many more people who have it or don't even know they have it and do just fine and recover and or never get symptomatic. And that's very common for virtually any virus.
Dr. Vieder, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for your thoughts and your comments and being with us. He is Dr. Sanford Vieder, Chairman and Medical Director, Emergency Room Trauma Center at Beaumont, and the Medical Director at Lakes Urgent Care Facilities right in our backyard around Metro Detroit. Good to have you with us. And let me just say thanks to you and everyone working in the medical profession on the front line right now. You're saving so many lives, and we know economically this is tough. We've seen the reports from the hospitals. They're having trouble. I know that the urgent care centers and the individual practitioners, all their numbers are way down. I know everyone's suffering. So thank you for doing all you can and getting through this, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully everybody stays safe out there. Wash your hands, and again, if you think you need care, don't be afraid to come in. We're ready to help you out.
All right. I knew you told me. I knew you'd tell me to wash my hands. That's just your job. That's what doctors do.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dr. Vieder. I'm going to go do that. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to stand by and get to the governor's press conference here in just a moment as well. You are watching and listening to the Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
And thank you for joining us on the Megacast. Time to thank our radio stations, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, 88.1 WBFH, Bloomfield Hills, The Biff, and WAHS Auburn Hills. WAHS is 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. Thank you very much to our fantastic radio stations who carry the show each and every day live. And thank you very much to our cable broadcasters who also carry the game. I guess it would be cable casters. This would be a cable cast, not a cable broadcast, right? Did I get the term right?
I think either way works.
All right. So thank you, a big thank you to BAMA, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15, and we are on live in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and Franklin on Comcast. Now, if you have channel 99 on AT&T, you can tune in. You got to have AT&T. Then you can tune into channel 99, and you can watch us anywhere in Metro Detroit by just going to the West Bloomfield page, and you can see that anywhere. You don't have to live in West Bloomfield to watch it on AT&T. Thank you very much to Civic Center TV, our flagship here, cable television operation, and Tyler and I are sitting in the Lakes FM radio studios in West Bloomfield. Did I get everybody? I kind of jumped around a little bit. Oh, I didn't. Thank you to the Keego Harbor Police Department, Tyler. Thank you to the Keego Harbor Police Department. We're on their Facebook page today. So as you can see right here on TV, if you're watching the COVID-19 update from Governor Whitmer coming up in a minute, very consequential day today. There's going to be big time news coming up. We hope that we hear from the governor in the next moment or two as to what her plans are post-May 1st. Legislature, they're a little grumpy right now. If they haven't done so already, they are going to pass legislation today that says the governor doesn't have the authority anymore to issue these executive orders. And without getting into the complexity of how that works, bottom line, she's going to veto that, Tyler, so it doesn't really matter. But they wanted to make a symbolic statement.
Yeah, they'll make that symbolic statement, but after the governor does veto that statement from the
legislature.
Yeah. Thank you. After she does make that statement with her veto, a 2/3 majority vote would reverse that veto, but I don't see that.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There are small Republican majorities in the House and the Senate, and that's how it's all getting passed. So let's just tune in. The governor, we see her on our screen. She's going to get started at any moment right now, so we will listen in and we will talk about what she had to say coming up in a couple of moments.
Good morning. It is Friday, April 24th. Wanted to give an update on the state of Michigan coronavirus, what the actions that are happening. So I want to start by highlighting some of the important actions that we have taken this week since Wednesday. On Wednesday, I ordered expanded eligibility for unemployment benefits. The order expands the state's work share program, offering more tools to employers to reduce layoffs. It also extends unemployment benefits to many workers who got a job and couldn't start it due to the pandemic. So far, we have sent an estimated 820,000 unemployed Michigan workers $1.37 billion in benefits. Also on Wednesday, I met with the United States Army Secretary McCarthy, along with United States Senator Gary Peters and Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin, as well as Major General Paul Rogers, to discuss ongoing operations that are supporting our communities during this time. I had the opportunity to speak with Secretary McCarthy about the work being done in Michigan by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, as well as the Michigan National Guard. Our dedicated servicemen and women have made incredible contributions to our state during this crisis. A lot of humanitarian efforts are happening across Michigan by our National Guard, whether it's helping bring medical supplies to our hospitals, helping Michigan families put food on the table, or building our alternate care facilities in just a matter of days. We're all incredibly grateful for their work. They are right now in efforts ongoing across the state of Michigan to ensure that there is food supply for those who don't have the means to go to the grocery store. We're doing that in Pontiac, Battle Creek, Grand Rapids, Flint, Royal Oak, Rochester Hills, Ann Arbor, and Comstock Park, just to name a few places that this is happening. I want to thank the Guardsmen and women for the work that they are doing every day on our behalf. Yesterday, I announced a temporary $2 per hour pay raise for direct care workers, providing Medicaid-funded in-home behavioral health and long-term services to Michigan's most vulnerable citizens. Our direct care healthcare workers are risking their lives every single day in the care of others. So, making sure that we flatten the curve, we are grateful for their work and wanted to make sure that they've got the support they need to continue doing it. I worked with the Department of Insurance and Financial Services to announce the creation of the My Mortgage Relief Partnership. With over 200 of Michigan financial institutions' partnership, we are recognizing and expanding upon the measures that our financial institutions have been taking to assist customers to help people stay in their homes during the span of this crisis. Many of our credit unions, banks, and lenders have stepped up to help those who are suffering financial losses by providing a 90-day grace period for their mortgage payments. Throughout this crisis, I have been having regular Zoom calls with various essential workers across our state. I wanted to thank them, and I wanted to listen to them and ask them what I can do to help them in their critical work to keep us safe. This morning, I talked to a number of grocery workers who are on the front lines. In addition to the nurses and doctors and teachers and first responders, police, and fire, today I spoke with grocery workers. Spoke with 4 people, Dwayne, Kevin, Tori, and Rachel. And when I asked them, what can I tell the people of Michigan on your behalf? They wanted me first to convey that they are proud of the work that they do, and they're grateful to their employers for taking efforts to keep them safe. They were employees from Kroger and from Meijer. They also wanted you to know that they've been incredibly touched by the shoppers who have thanked them for the work that they do. That means a lot to them. They're grateful when members of the general public come in and wear masks because you're taking actions to protect yourself and protecting them. And they wanted me to relay a couple of other things. That you know how important it is that you limit how many people go to the grocery store. Don't shop as a family if you can avoid that and if you can have care for your kids. Please limit the number of people that are coming into the stores. They wanted me to remind you that the mask is to be worn properly, so it's covering both your nose and your mouth. And then it's not in lieu of being 6 feet away, it's in addition to. So please do both to keep yourself and your families safe. They wanted me to remind you that when you are in the produce aisle, keep thinking about trying not to touch your face. It's really hard and we're all learning in this moment. But don't grab a grocery bag and lick your finger to separate it and then start touching produce. Every time you touch your face, it is the risk of cross-contamination, and they ask that you keep working to improve on that front as well. We know that they are doing some really incredibly important work, and so it's our job to make sure that they're safe to continue working, and we all have to play our role. And the vast majority of people in Michigan are doing the right things. So thank you on their behalf, and thank you because we're seeing our curve flatten because of the work that you're doing. I wanted to take a moment to highlight a number of businesses and organizations that have stepped up this week. Every day we see incredible work that is happening and an incredible amount of strength and courage from Michiganders during this time of uncertainty, whether it is from individuals or it is from nonprofits who've been donating resources so we can feed Michiganders, or it is businesses that are using their technology to help us meet our PPE needs. The Siemens Foundation on Wednesday announced that it is providing $150,000 to metropolitan Detroit-based Western Wayne Family Health Centers to respond to COVID-19 crisis. The BASF Corp in Wyandotte is doing its part by producing hand sanitizer. The facility has produced over 8,000 gallons of hand sanitizer being distributed to the Henry Ford Health System and other healthcare systems in Michigan, Texas, Louisiana, Mexico, and Canada. I'm also happy to announce another generous donation to provide meals for first responders who are working hard to fight COVID-19 at the TCF Center and at Suburban Showcase. AT&T has contributed $50,000 and teamed up with the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association to provide meals for our first responders at our Southeast Michigan field hospitals beginning tomorrow. This will be a great help so that as our first responders are battling, that they are fed and cared for during the course of their important life-saving work. As of yesterday, we had 35,291 positive cases. We'll have our daily update, but that's not for a few hours. As of yesterday, we had 2,977 lives lost to COVID-19. As we've seen our numbers begin to plateau over the course of the last week, we know that it's because Michiganders are doing their part and staying home and staying safe. And I want to reiterate how important it is that we continue to do that. It's doing the right thing and it is paying off. The majority of people and businesses also have done the right thing over the last 6 weeks. Let's keep it up. Like I've said throughout this crisis, we've got to do everything we can to avoid a second wave of COVID-19 spread. So as hard as this moment is for us right now, as isolated as we feel, and as stressed as we are about getting back to work, reopening up businesses, we know that if we do it too fast, a second wave is likely and would be even more devastating than the moment that we are in. Today, I'm taking action to further protect Michigan families from the spread of this virus and to ensure that when people leave the house, they are being safe. I signed an executive order this morning to extend the stay home, stay safe order through May 15th. The data shows that most Michiganders are doing their part by staying home and staying safe. It's good, but we must keep it up. The order I signed today requires that everyone wear a covering over their nose and mouth, like a homemade mask or scarf or bandana or handkerchief, when they are in an enclosed public space. To be clear, when you go to the grocery store or to the pharmacy or to any store that's open during this time, you need to wear a face mask. If you're in an outdoor area, this order doesn't require that you wear one, but you should consider it anyway. And regardless, you need to observe the 6 feet radius of safety so that you are protected from spread. Masks worn in the public, masks worn by the general public, should be cloth, non-medical grade masks. We need to save those medical grade masks for our first responders, people on the front line. Under the order, no one will be subject to criminal penalty for going without a mask, but a face covering is crucial to protecting the public and our critical employees. And for now, N95 masks need to be reserved for those on the front lines. In addition, all businesses must provide non-medical grade masks and face coverings to their employees who work outside the home. We need to protect our workers. While this order is extended to May 15th, I am lifting some of the restrictions. The new executive order will now allow some workers who perform lower risk activities to go back on the job. We will consider this the preliminary stage of economic re-engagement. We will measure, we will collect data, we will continue to ramp up our testing, our tracing, and we will make informed decisions in the coming days about potential further economic re-engagement. But it depends on you. If we continue to see our numbers decline, we can responsibly consider additional steps we can take. If we see an increase, we may have to be nimble enough to go backward on occasion. My hope, though, my fervent hope, is that people still take this incredibly seriously. This order allows landscapers and lawn service companies and nurseries to return to work, subject to strict social distancing. That means that they should have limited contact with clients. Workers should have the personal protection equipment that they need, like gloves, goggles, and masks as appropriate. Where they are using shared tools or machinery, extra sanitation efforts must be taken. Today's order permits retailers that do not sell necessary supplies to open for curbside pickup or for delivery. The order lifts the closed areas that have been that were ruled closed at big box stores. So we will allow garden supplies and centers to reopen. And we allow bike repair shops to open their doors as well. We are now prepared to ease up on some of the personal restrictions. These are changes that public health experts say are lower risk. So specifically, we are permitting motorized boating, also golf, consistent with strict social distancing. You may not, however, operate golf carts at this time. Michiganders may travel between their residences, but I still strongly discourage people from doing so. Unless it is absolutely necessary, we ask that you consider not doing that. While it's understandable to be lured by the phenomenal beauty of this great state and hit the road, we know that our rural hospitals are simply not equipped to meet an influx of people who may bring or spread the virus. So if you do go, please plan so that you are not in the local grocery stores. Limit your exposure and observe the proper hygiene. Masks, 6 feet apart, washing your hands, no unnecessary trips. This order also clarifies that state parks will remain open as they have been through the emergency. Please remember that if you choose to go to the golf course, take the boat out, or operate your lawn care service, engage them, please stay safe and do everything you can to protect yourself and others. I know there's been a lot of discussion about these restrictions. I know they haven't been easy and they've seemed inconsistent or confusing. But the data shows that what we have done is working. We've saved lives in this process. The thing about public health is when you do it well, you never know how many lives you saved. But we do know that it's worked, and we've pushed the curve down. And it's because of all of you. Today's announcement is a step forward. There is and will be light at the end of the tunnel. But I want to be crystal clear. The overarching message today is still the same. We all need to do our part, and staying home is the best way to prevent spread of COVID-19. As I said, we will be continually measuring. We'll be ramping up our testing and tracing and monitoring of COVID-19 presence in Michigan. We'll continue securing PPE for our first responders. But we must be nimble. As we take this small step forward, we will make adjustments along the way. My hope, I know all of our hope, is that we can take the next step. But we have to know that it's safe to do that we've mitigated all the risk inherent. There's an incredible amount of work going into putting together the plan to make sure as we re-engage, we do it safely and avoid that second devastating wave that we've seen played out in other parts of the world. Staying home remains our best weapon to defeat this enemy and to stop the spread. Every unnecessary trip outside the house, every unnecessary close encounter with other people spreads this virus. The full executive order that I've highlighted today is available at michigan.gov/coronavirus for any of you who have questions or want to read it. So I'm taking today's action based on the facts, on data, and recommendations from experts. As we test more Michiganders, a smaller percentage test positive for COVID-19. The number of people in our hospital beds is going down, and weeks of reserves of PPE with more deliveries on the way. I'm loosening some of these restrictions today because to make it possible. So thank you to those of you who have stayed home. Thank you to our healthcare professionals and first responders on the front lines. Thank you to the businesses and workers who are producing PPE here in Michigan, to the grocery store workers who are stocking the shelves, to the child care workers and educators. You've all been a part of making this possible. In the coming days, I will speak to you more about our criteria for re-engaging sectors of our economy. Every step I make will continue to prioritizing keeping Michiganders safe and healthy. I'm taking counsel of medical and business experts from across the country. We're engaged in an incredibly intensive and rigorous process of understanding the science of COVID-19, the capabilities of our public health system, the variety of unique businesses, the necessary safety protocols, and the scoring of risk associated therein. And I'm also regularly consulting with my colleagues, Democratic and Republican governors from across the country. We need to get this right. In the coming days, I'll be joined by business, hospital, and academic leaders to provide an overview of the careful research, analysis, and planning that has been done to inform my decisions about the framework for re-engaging. I will be joined by labor leaders as well to discuss the steps we will take to be protecting working people and families to strengthen workplace health and safety. And of course, throughout this process, I'll be joined by Dr. Janae Caldoun, who is helping to ensure every decision we make is based on the best facts, science, and data we have available. As always, we will make those decisions based on sound principles, and we will communicate them, and we will remain nimble as we are assessing our next steps here in Michigan. Thank you all for doing your part, and with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Janae Caldoun.
Thank you, Governor, and good morning. We continue to see a plateau in the number of cases of COVID-19 in the state, which is a positive sign. As we've said before, we are cautiously optimistic, but we are by no means out of the woods when it comes to COVID-19 in the state of Michigan. I'm pleased that we can move forward with the next phase of the governor's stay home, stay safe order today. We're starting with slowly reopening businesses and allowing people to engage in some previously suspended activities that are lower public health risk. It is vital that workplaces be safe when they are reopened, safe for both employees and their customers. Employers will be a key part of this effort to provide safe workspaces where employees and customers are appropriately socially distancing and making sure employees and customers are wearing a mask. We all still have to do our part, like the governor said. Stay home unless you must absolutely go out. Wear a mask when you are going out into closed spaces, and continue to do things like staying home if you are sick. As we move forward, our public health response will be critical to determining the impact of our actions and what potential next steps we will be taking. We will continue to monitor closely where the disease is in the state and the number of deaths, both at a state and a regional level, as we have been. We will continue to monitor our healthcare system capacity, making sure our hospitals have enough PPE, ventilators, and equipment to make sure we can take care of patients if they need to come into the hospital. And importantly, we have to make sure that our public health system is working with sufficient testing so we know who has the disease and we can find out who their close contacts are so we can prevent the spread of the disease as much as possible. If any of these things, trends in cases, hospital capacity, or public health system capacity, if any of those three things appear that they are going in the wrong direction, we will need to look at strengthening our public health and social distancing requirements again so that we can prevent another surge in cases. One of the most critical parts of this response is testing, and we've talked a lot about testing. If we don't know where the disease is, we will not be able to stop it. We still have some work to do, but I'm pleased to announce that a couple of days ago, on Wednesday, April 22nd, our state performed the highest number of COVID-19 tests that we have in this entire response, 7,400 in one day. That is progress. We estimate that we need to be doing about 15,000 tests a day in the state. But initially, again, about a month ago, we started with just a couple hundred tests in our state lab, and we have now several hospitals and private labs that are supporting this effort. We've brought on 21 additional labs and testing sites in the past 2 weeks. We've expanded our testing criteria, and we've doubled the number of tests we were doing just a couple of weeks ago. Our work is paying off, but we have to continue aggressively moving forward with expanding our testing, and we are doing just that. As part of this effort to get more testing done, we want everyone to do their part. If you have symptoms like fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, we want you to seek out a test. If you are an essential worker, like working at a grocery store, even if you don't have symptoms, you can now seek out a test. You can go to our website, michigan.gov/coronavirus test, to contact a testing site near you. We will continue to make sure testing is available to those who need it and to remove as many barriers as possible. We also need to make sure we're protecting our most vulnerable residents, especially those living in nursing facilities, and we've talked a lot about that in the previous weeks. On Monday, I announced that our skilled nursing facilities are now required to report cases of COVID-19 to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and we expect to be able to report that information on our website later on today. So far, 331 nursing facilities have reported, and that's about 2/3 of the total number of skilled nursing facilities in the state. Together, they all reported 2,218 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in their facilities. 3/4 of these cases are in Southeast Michigan. We're working very closely with our local health departments to work with these nursing facilities, and we have committed $3.8 million to support response efforts. This includes teams of public health experts and clinicians to provide assistance to these nursing homes and to really work on expanding testing. We have to keep in mind that it may take as long as 18 months for a vaccine to be developed for COVID-19, and we still don't have the appropriate antiviral treatments for this disease. So life in the foreseeable future will not go back exactly to what it was before COVID-19. So this is truly going to be a marathon, and not a sprint. We're going to continue to look at our data and track and monitor how we are responding to this pandemic. But I'm confident that with our continued perseverance, we are going to be able to prevail against this disease. With that, I'll turn it back over to the governor.
Thank you, Dr. J. Happy to, I call her Dr. J, Dr. Khaldun. I am happy to open it up for a few questions.
I'm hearing from a lot of small businesses that think that they could implement policies that would allow them to operate safely. Is there a process being considered where businesses could submit a plan and be allowed to open maybe in the next round instead of broad shutdowns?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was on the call with someone from the realtors who represent the realtors in Michigan, and we were chatting. I encouraged them to share what they think are best practices with my office so that as we are looking at all of the ways that we are calculating risk and working with these medical experts at the University of Michigan as well as business leaders to make sure that all of those things are taken into account. I think that it's really important that people understand the incredible amount of work that is going into analyzing different sectors of our economy. What we need to do is assess for risk. You know, getting down to zero risk is not possible in this moment, but we have every responsibility to make sure that we mitigate the risk down to making these workplaces as safe as possible. We welcome input from the private sector as to measures that they acknowledge would make their workplaces safer, and that I would love to have a policy that reflects those best practices, and we welcome that. So I encourage people to send them to my office, and I will have Tiffany share with you what would be the best way to do that. Oh, there she is. Hi, Tiff.
Guess it's my turn. Governor, your reaction to what's happening in the legislature today, the bicameral committee to look into your response, the state's response to the COVID-19 crisis, and a bill that could be sent to you that would place some restrictions on your emergency powers, shorten the timeline that these orders can last.
Yeah, so, you know what, Rick, right now, my only job is focusing on saving lives in Michigan. We've lost, as of yesterday, almost 3,000 people to COVID-19. We are at, we've got a lot of crises that we are addressing right now. And so the only thing I'm focused on is meeting the needs of everyone across our state. The political conversation that is happening in the Capitol right now is not something that I'm spending a lot of energy on, because I'll tell you, every unnecessary trip out of the house, every unnecessary close contact with another person threatens to continue spreading COVID-19. I find it odd that the legislature has chosen to congregate against all the best practices, against the spirit of the stay home, stay safe order, where the vast majority of their constituents are observing these important actions. And I think that they should be focused on making sure that people who've lost their jobs have access to health care if they're doing anything together. I think that they should be focused on paid sick leave if they are determined to congregate in Lansing. That would be a wonderful use of their energy if they are going to congregate and do all of this. So with regard to any of the blatantly political conversations about taking executive power away from my office, I'm just going to reiterate for I don't know how many, the umpteenth time, I'm not going to sign any bill that takes authority away from me or from any future governor. The powers of the executive office are incredibly important, especially in times of crisis where lives are on the line. And I don't know that I've got much more to say on that. Thanks.
Governor, what was your thinking in relaxing these orders? What were the metrics that you used to do this, and going forward, what will the metrics be if you've got to put some more restrictions back on?
Yeah, so appreciate the question, Kathy. Michigan, we took a very aggressive stance with regard to curtailing the spread of COVID-19. We did that because we had a unique problem. And we are the 10th most populous state in the nation, and yet we have the 3rd highest number of deaths from COVID-19. We were seeing exponential growth in the early days, and so taking this aggressive action has really pushed that curve down and saved a lot of lives. We are, as taking such an aggressive action, of course, people noticed that we were doing things differently than some of the other states were. As we have watched people continue to do the right thing and us be able to build up our PPE across the state so that our nurses and doctors have the support they need, as we've seen fewer hospitalizations and people come off of ventilators, we acknowledge that we are in a moment where we can start to loosen a few things up. These being lower risk in that they are less communication amongst the general public, right? A lawnscaper isn't they're outside, not inside. They don't have regular interaction with the public. There are a lot of reasons that these were deemed to be lower risk activities that we could have a first wave of some engagement here and see what happens. My hope is that people still observe all of these best practices, wearing a mask when you're out in public, ensuring that you're 6 feet away from others, that you're not leaving the house unless you really need to. These are still very important, crucial things that we're asking people to do. But we wanted to start to engage in some of the lower risk activities, and these were the first wave.
I'm still hearing from some people who are having problems getting through to unemployment and getting the benefits that they feel they're entitled to. Some say they've been trying for weeks, but the issue seems to be when there's technicalities, they just can't get a person to address it. What are you seeing in terms of addressing this situation?
So I think that it's always important to have some perspective here. We've had over 1 million people become unemployed in the last 6 weeks. We have been able to make sure that over 820,000 people have gotten the assistance that they've earned, the unemployment check that they've earned. That's a remarkable thing. Unfortunately, it still means there's 180,000 who haven't. And that's precisely why we have quadrupled the number of people who are working at UIA on the phones to help people navigate the system and get those checks out. We've done an incredible amount of work, but anytime you've still got thousands of people that haven't gotten the help that they need, we have work to do. And so I've told the agency to continue ramping up, continue meeting the needs of our people, and I just hope that everyone who is tuning in who's frustrated knows we are going to make sure that every person gets the benefits that they've earned, that is in the works. We are making progress, but we still have work to do, and I'm pushing on the agency to keep moving faster to make sure that we get to everyone as quickly as possible.
Governor, it appears that your executive order doesn't have specific guidance on manufacturing. Is there anything in this that has any effect on things like auto assembly plants?
No. Rick, I guess, I'll expand a little bit. We are continually, we've been doing an incredible amount of work to make sure that we have got protocols and a thoughtful cadence for assessing risk. It's been a rigorous undertaking. You'll learn more about it and have opportunities to really understand and ask questions next week in a more, robust way. But I would just say this, that this order today, it's a week before anyone expected us to do anything based on the timeline in the last executive order. We thought now is an appropriate time. We are, just because this goes till May 15th doesn't mean that nothing else is going to happen between now and then. An incredible amount of work is being done. There will perhaps, hopefully, be some additional things that we can start to engage in a safe way with the proper protocols. But we are not, at this point, able to announce anything additional today. But there's a lot of work that is happening. We are engaging with business leaders of various sizes and various sectors, and always working with our best epidemiology minds and public health minds to ensure that we are making thoughtful steps in each of these ways to mitigate risk.
I just want to clarify. I think that you said that you're not going to be subject to a fine if you're not wearing a mask, but can businesses refuse service to people who aren't wearing masks? Yes.
I think, you know, in sharing that conversation that I had with our grocery workers this morning, you know, they acknowledge that the vast majority of people are wearing masks, but there are those who don't. And some who do wear masks don't wear them properly. Or some who wear masks think that it's either a mask or it's the 6 feet. It's both. And so we need people to wear masks, to wear them properly, and to observe the 6 feet safe distance. All of these are things that need to be observed. And I would encourage businesses to, there are some grocery stores that are saying if you don't have a mask, you can't come in. That is a practice that protects both their employees and the public. And so I'm grateful that some have taken that upon themselves, and I would encourage others to do so as well. You don't have to have we don't want you to wear a medical grade mask. We want you to have a cloth-based covering, and it can be made through an old t-shirt. It can be made with a handkerchief or a neckerchief. There are a lot of ways to do this, but just to cover your face is one important step in addition to that 6 foot radius that is going to be so important to, you know, protecting us from the spread of COVID-19 growing again.
And are the rules that still require only a certain number of people allowed in a store or a facility at a time, that still applies?
Yes, those are still in effect, yes. And the good news is that by and large they've been able to observe them, and they've contributed to the flattening of the curve.
All right, I'll go next and then Governor, how much, and I know there is some research on this, you know, writ large, how much the figuring into your thinking did the idea that it's getting warmer, this has been going on for a while, and the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to enforce and persuade people to abide by some of the most restricted orders? I mean, was the concept of public buy-in a part of your thinking on this?
Well, the success of any of these policies depends on the compliance of the public, right? And I think you see, while there are certainly those who aren't complying, they're the small minority of people in this state. The vast majority of people are doing what they need to do to protect themselves, to protect their loved ones, to protect our communities and our state as a whole. They've contributed to our ability to not have a healthcare system that collapse. They've contributed to our ability to continue bringing in and assemble PPE so that we've got days of PPE and weeks of PPE in some hospitals as opposed to hours worth of PPE. And so each of these actions has contributed to the saving of lives in our state. The more that we observe this, the stronger our economy is going to be when we do fully re-engage over the course of weeks and months and days and you know, the near future, and are able to stay re-engaged. What we don't want is a second wave, and I know that people are feeling very isolated. It's hard. It's hard, even if you're not one of those who is grieving the loss of a loved one, like a lot of people are in the state. There's a grief of the loss of freedom, or the grief of a loss of a job, or the fear of a loss of a business. And we need people to comply. And so loosening up now, because the data is telling us that we can safely re-engage some of these lower risk activities, made sense. We want people to be able to get out and garden. And if that helps keep people at home and give people some peace of mind, that's maybe an activity that that is low enough risk that we can start that process. And so, yeah, part of that does weigh. Absolutely.
We're seeing our hospitals face financial ruin, nurses put on furlough. How concerned are you about their ability to respond to this crisis moving forward as they face these financial hardships, and what can be done about it?
Yeah, so, you know, I've been working pretty closely with our hospital leaders, and I'll just say this, they have stepped up to this crisis, and they've been good partners. they're in serious financial, a lot of them financial stress. And that was inevitable in a crisis like this. The dollars that are coming in from the federal government will help, but I'm very dismayed to see someone like Mitch McConnell suggest that they're not going to fully help the states and all of this infrastructure that's so critical to our daily lives. You know, this is a moment where we're all making tough choices. It's my hope that we can start to resume additional activities in a safe way and that hospitals won't be in a position where they're making these tough choices. It's my hope that we can get our medical professionals all on the front line and keep them there and remain solvent as organizations. But obviously this has taken a toll, and we're here to try to help all of those displaced or furloughed workers in this moment.
Perhaps this is a question for Dr. Caldoun. I'm wondering about the testing. It looks like we had a bit of a spike yesterday in cases, and I know that the criteria is 14 days of decline. Is that 14 continuous days of decline every day, or is it from a certain point? Or is there an explanation for this spike that we saw yesterday?
Yes, so that's a great question. It's important that as we look at this, we don't just focus in on one specific day. And again, the numbers that we are giving you are often just the reports that we got on that day. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the day that someone had symptoms start. So again, we're going to be looking at rolling averages, 7-day averages, 14-day averages, making sure that they are continuing to overall be trending down, obviously. We're also going to be looking at things like percent positivity. So as we test more, a lower percentage of people actually being positive. Again, those are the types of things that we will be looking at. So not focusing so much on one day of testing results.
How much, and this is for either or both of you, did economic sectors, types of jobs weigh in the decision versus geography, where infections are and or not or appear to be?
I'll start. So I think from a medical perspective, it's important that we note that we have to be mindful of hospital capacity. So there are some places in the state that are not in Southeast Michigan where we are seeing significant increases in the rate of rise of cases. We also know that those hospitals in those areas don't have nearly the capacity that some of our hospitals in Southeast Michigan do. So again, it's really too early, I think, to be saying that some parts of the state should be opening. Quite frankly, I've talked to some of our hospital leaders who are very concerned that even though they have few cases, their hospital capacity is very small, and they do have patients in the ICU right now. So we'll be monitoring as we go forward as far as the medical guidance, and again, those factors like hospital capacity, percent, how cases are rising in different areas of the state.
All right, so that is our press conference with the governor. Good morning. My name is Dave Scott. Tyler Keefe is here. Got about 15 minutes to digest all this, Tyler. So we are holding on to the executive order. And basically from her comments today, here is what the governor said, and it was very significant. A new executive order, it's Executive Order 2020-59, if you care, is now in effect. And it has become effective, I think, immediately. Some provisions in here maybe over the next couple of days. We're still reading the nitty-gritty here to find out. But the executive order that is now in effect until May 15th supersedes what was there. Is the new stay home, stay safe. And some of the biggest features include the requirement to wear a mask if you are inside, a cloth mask, not one of the N95 masks, a cloth mask. So I assume, Tyler, my red bandana and the blue one and the green one I've been wearing, those would qualify. That's cloth, and it's kind of a mask, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that would definitely qualify. She doesn't want you to use the N95s, of course, because those need to be for the medical professionals.
Right.
But your blood red bandana would work fine.
So you got to wear a mask if you're inside. If you're outside, then there's no requirement, but it's still recommended. There is no criminal penalty, though. You're not going to go to jail if you don't wear a mask. But she did seem to ad-lib an answer asked by one of the reporters, well, what happens if you're not wearing a mask? And a retailer or a store of some kind to turn you down for service? And she said, yes. If you are an employer, you must provide those masks to your employees. So another note here. Low-risk workers that can go back to work and low-risk activities that can go on again. These are the ones that are specifically outlined by her and were specifically outlined in the new orders. I went through it quickly. We are now back in business for landscapers here in the state of Michigan. They made a lot of noise, and they are back. Retail, other non-grocery retail is going to return. However, if you're a retailer, you are going to have to make those products available curbside or by delivery. We've seen a lot of really creative curbside ideas. So retailers, you can now begin providing your products curbside. If you're a big box retailer, then you are back in business. We're going to get rid of you can't buy paint here, you can't buy this there. Everything's going to open back up. This is kind of unusual. She isolated bike repair and pointed out bike repair. Now, absolutely, we want to be able to ride our bikes, but she didn't identify other sectors, so that was interesting. But bike repair facilities are now okay. And here's a big one. Motor powerboats, okay. Golf, okay. But then they came back. I'm sorry I'm laughing because it's not funny. It's very serious, and in fact, it makes sense to some degree. You can golf, but no golf cart. Have you seen a golf cart lately, Tyler? Yet it's really hard to get.
I have not seen a golf cart lately. I have been on a golf course lately. I haven't been anywhere near a golf cart, so that certainly helps.
I think they were probably thinking you're going to have difficulty separating from each other if you're in a golf cart.
Distance in a golf cart. What golf cart's more than 6 feet wide?
Well, there's probably some like very large ones.
Yeah, but are they very common? I don't think so.
No, your typical golf cart. You're going to be real close. So they don't want people sitting in golf carts. The prohibition on going to your second home is gone. And I missed some of her comments. I think I heard her say, do not go into a grocery store or other establishment if you are in a remote community. Now, I didn't read that in the executive order, but it makes sense. It's a logical request. If you're going up north to your vacation home, stay out of the store. Get your goods down here. We're going in the store. Do as much shopping as you can at one time. And there was also a reference to try to do your shopping without taking the whole family and the kids and everybody. Just go to the store, get your shopping done, maybe designate one person to shop, and then come back. So that's basically what they said. The media didn't ask a lot of specific questions because I don't think they had the benefit of doing what we did back here in the studio, and that is actually print out the executive order and read it. And Tyler, I don't want to get ahead of this, but I promise you that they're going to need that big long FAQ from the Attorney General's office to clean this one up. It was manifested to a small degree in the press conference when I almost think it was my good friend Rick Pluta from Michigan Public Radio that asked the governor, can manufacturing resume? And she didn't give. If I heard that right, she did not give him an answer.
She very simply said, no.
Oh, she did say no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she gave several of her answers were very short and not specific.
So in reading, and forgive me, I got a lot of notes, and there's so much information. I may have gotten that wrong or did not hear that correctly, but there is, when you actually go and read the order, it's very confusing because initially the order says that we're gonna prohibit in-person work, very much like we have had. But then the language looks a little different than the last order. In one sentence I found in here said that businesses They have all the same limitations that were there before, but workers can go to a place of work to facilitate the ability of other workers to work remotely. That may have been in the previous order. I may not recall seeing that. But basically, if you are a critical infrastructure worker, you can go to work. But that was there before. If you are working in a municipality, be it state, county, or local, those offices are going to continue to stay closed through the 15th. If you are going to travel out of your home, you can go to the stores, you can go to your retailers, you can, if you're an essential worker, you can go to your office. You can now go to your second home. You can get involved in some additional recreational activities, power boating, golf. That'll make a lot of people happy. Landscaping, you can get the landscaping supplies and do it yourself, or you can have somebody come to your home. Just keep the social distancing. Let's see what happens until the 15th. And the governor's office will continue to look at this again. Where it gets really gray and complicated, and I think this is where the Attorney General is going to have to chime in, or we're going to have to get more clarification. There are these certain businesses, bike shops, the insurance industry, labor unions, volunteers for businesses that and volunteer organizations that are helping others. But those were there before. Laundromats, coin laundries, dry cleaners, those were there before. And the critical sectors, I think, were all there before, too. Healthcare, law enforcement, food, energy, water, transportation, public works, communications, community-based government operations that are essential, critical manufacturing. So, yes, if you're making something that is critical, I guess you got to decide that for yourself. If we don't get a ruling from the Attorney General. Hazardous materials, financial services, chemical supplies, and defense industry. But that list was there before. I don't see anything there being significantly different. Got to wear the mask. That's the big thing. Golf, yes. Boating, yes. The one thing that I was looking for, a little self-serving, and just trying to see what kind of clarity there is and where there might be some immediate points of confusion. Let me just give you an example, and then you guys just go out, read this thing, try and figure it out. Look, no one's going to get arrested or go to jail if you get this wrong a little bit. But we all want to try to, follow the rules and do what we need to do. But, let's take the boating thing for a minute, Tyler. So, Governor said you can take your motorboat out on the lake and go fishing today. The governor said that you can ride your bike, and in fact, you can go to the bike repair shop and get your bike fixed. But the governor didn't say you can go to the boat marina and have any work done. And in fact, it said that specifically that, you can't get supplies and things like that from different providers. So, you think about all those boats out of Lake St. Clair and a lot of boats that are in our inland lakes right here in our immediate listening area, Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, Upper Straits Lake, all these other lakes across our whole area. A lot of people have their boats stored at some kind of a marina, and then they come set it up, and they get you all situated, get your dock in the water. And I don't know that you can have somebody do that right now. I'm just scratching my head thinking it's a little confusing.
It is. It's not entirely clear, and it's those kinds of things that facilitate those activities, such as marina workers and boat repair at those marinas and other places. People that are working to fill the gas pumps at these marinas.
Well, I would think, gas is going to be okay. That's been okay. Right. And a lot of this stuff is there. But it's, you would think if the boating is legal, that like the bike shops, that would be in there. And it meant, you can't, I've said this multiple times, you just can't write this document. This document is 12 pages. And any respectable law firm billing it, $200, $300, $400 an hour would have written about a 150-page document to do what she did. I'm glad she didn't do it, but there's not a lot of detail in here, and we're gonna have to figure this thing out. And there'll be a tremendous amount of discussion over the next several days as we go and try and figure out what we can do and what we can't do. Just be cool, be logical, wear your mask, and congratulations to the landscapers listening, to the retail stores listening, to all of you that, that you can get your shops back open. It's unclear if, like, office work and some other things can happen. I don't see much clarity, and I don't see much clarity with regard to medical practitioners, although I think many of them have already been able to do their thing. But congratulations to all of you that go out and do your thing and get our economy going. The big news has happened earlier than any of us thought. We didn't think we were going to get this today. And it goes into effect like right away, and it does open up the economy, but there's an awful lot of confusion, and the basic premise of all this: stay home, stay safe. If you don't need to go out, don't go out. And we'll see how the public takes this. Certainly, I think people are going to interpret this a little bit more loosely than it probably was intended by the governor, and there'll be a lot of confusion. But this will all get sorted out in the next couple of days. We'll just see where we go. This information is online. Where do they go to get it, Tyler? If you want to read the executive order and try to make sense out of it for yourself.
That will be on michigan.gov/coronavirus. They'll have links to executive orders. Michigan.gov will have links to executive orders. If you were to search for Michigan executive orders, it'll take you to a michigan.gov page as well. That will probably be a little more direct and not have to bounce around as much. But you'll be able to find this order. And Dave, what is the order number again, in case they are looking to find?
You think someone's really going to remember that?
Well,
we have a brilliant audience. It's 2020. That's this year. That's the easy part. -59 20-59.
Yeah. Why I was saying that was when I went and did the research to print this document for you, there are many other executive orders that are not precisely titled for the layman like myself.
How did you find? Okay, so would you do us all a favor? Would you know how to get on the website? Would you just put a link on our coronavirus page?
Yes.
To this thing. And you did get the right one, by the way, I could tell. So it's titled Temporary Requirement to Suspend Activities That Are Not Necessary to Sustain or Protect Life. So there we go. So good luck, everybody. And this modifies the other executive order. So if you're reading Executive Order 4.2, that's the wrong one. We live in a crazy time when you got to get online, read executive orders to know whether or not you can go to the bathroom. Almost, it's
not quite, but.
So listen, and I just want to say it one more time. Look, good job, Governor. This is not easy. Whether people agree or disagree with you, I think I think. Not that what I think matters, but I think it's cool that she put this together today, got it out quick, and it's only 12 pages. And, so yes, there's some ambiguity in some areas, but, who is ever going to read one of those 250-page documents anyway? So this gets us to the foundation of it. I look forward to a nice weekend here in Michigan, and it's going to be really fun to see how quickly people get out to the golf courses. And I think if I get out of here right now, Tyler, for those people that are listening to the recorded version of this show, we get out of here right now and head up Orchard Lake Road from our studios and go to the boat launch on Orchard Lake. There's probably a line there already right now.
Probably.
People have really been excited about getting in the golf course, getting in their boat. So good luck to all of you. Keep it healthy. Keep it safe. Wash your hands. Stay tuned to our site. There's an awful lot of information, a lot of very insightful, helpful information that has come across our desk this week from a lot of fantastic experts, and we invite you to head into the website, civiccenter.tv.com. Go to the coronavirus page. You'll find the most recent articles. We'll get this information up there, and then other media coverage about this over the weekend. And then go to the Megacast page. You can see all the interviews and clips and comments from people that have been on the show. Massive thank you to all of our outlets across the Megacast, and that includes the Birmingham Area Municipal Access Channel, and that's Channel 15 in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and Franklin. Thank you for being with us here in the Megacast. Thank you to Civic Center TV, of course, our flagship, civiccentertv.com. Thank you to the Keagle Harbor Police Department, I believe it is, that is with us today. Was that right? Keagle? Nope, yes. The Keagle Harbor Police Department. Thank you for being with us and providing your Facebook page for our broadcast today. And a huge shout out and thank you to our great radio stations across Oakland County. And that includes WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. Logan out there, you have a good weekend. 88.1 WBFH, the Biff in Bloomfield Hills. And Ron Whitable, you have a great weekend, Ron. Thank you for all you're doing for us. And thank you to the entire team at Motown Digital and all of our folks here at 89.3 Lakes FM for the incredibly hard work from Jeff and Jake and everybody. We don't have time to mention all of them. So thank you very much. Have a safe and coronavirus-free weekend.